So have you ever noticed that we don't get what we want, but we do get what we expect? There are many different types of expectation. There are the religious ones from the West as well as from the East. In the East, many wait for a Savior to be born again. In the West, many wait for death so they can be born again through reincarnation. There are expectations in life around our events, our world events. We see nations rise and fall and kingdoms rise and fall. And so it makes us wonder whether we can actually accomplish our expectations. There are also the expectations that happen with the change of seasons. Have you noticed how delicious the mornings are getting? Nice and cool. The days are a little shorter. The colors are just beginning to show themselves. Expanding our expectations beyond what we know can be scary. But people get ready. There's a train a-coming. And taking the train mentally versus letting the engine take you is what I want to talk about this morning. Remember that we don't put the power in the word, but it does find entry through our mind. So when challenges occur, it's a signal of something gone askew. If, for instance, we hear this sound, we can't stop it, so. That, I said yesterday when we were working on the graphics and stuff for the talk, boy, wouldn't it be nice if we had a train whistle? And there was one here this morning. We love the universe, don't we? So when you hear the bells at the railroad crossing, what do? You stop. You look both ways. So it's important to stop. It's important to take the lesson from the experience. But it's also important to move through the crossing and let the challenges go. When the greater mind pours itself through our consciousness, it comes to the surface as an actual experience. When we become consciously receptive to the one mind, it can point us in a completely different direction. And that's the difference between taking the train mentally, when you relive the event over and over again, and letting the engine take you. Dr. Ernest Holmes, in his book entitled Can We Talk to God?, tells us that there is a greater mind within each one of us, which may be called upon. If we believe absolutely in that power, and we are willing to listen, amazing things can happen through us. As individualizations of the one infinite mind, we all come from the same cosmic stuff. Yet each of us is unique and different. Just think about fingerprints. How many zillions of people are on the planet, and yet these are all unique and different. So identifying what we draw from the one mind is interpreted through our actions as well as our emotions. Every tree on the planet moves through the same creative soil, yet each blossoms within the nature of its own seed. So if we plant a walnut tree, we can't expect to get pecans. We are dealing with a creative intelligence. And when we call upon it, it flows through us. So if we plant seeds of hate, we can't expect to experience love. If we plant seeds of lack, we can't expect to experience abundance. If we are receptive to the idea of peace manifesting on the planet, our world will reflect that shift in consciousness, and the new earth will begin to present itself. And I don't know about any of you, but I'm noticing a shift on the planet. I talked 2 weekends ago about the 80 billion watts of power that came in through the center of the sun and is lighting up the grids. And this week while I was out shopping, I couldn't help but notice that everyone was so much nicer and friendly and kinder. And I went home and checked in with my guides to find out what that was about. And they told me that all the people that I encountered, from the cashier to the gentleman who washed my car to the bag lady at the grocery store, are already in service to the collective. So they're already feeling the energy and tapping into it. So when we practice discernment rather than judgment, we can recognize that everyone has their own unique journey. Some trees are made for shade. Some trees are meant to be a deck behind someone's house. Some trees are a storage facility for squirrels to place their nuts. Some trees have the potential through their seeds to create an entire forest. So we, as individualized expressions of that one mind, also have different destinies. Some of us are meant to be healers. Some of us are teachers. Some of us are practitioners. Some of us are artists. Many, many different expressions of the one. As we begin to learn how to consciously control our thoughts, we begin to shift not only our individual, but our collective experience. And this affects our planet and the galaxies beyond. How many of you remember the fall of the Berlin Wall? How many of you know that there were a group of people who prayed for that to happen? And it did. Shirley MacLaine, in her book Out on a Limb, stopped the rain so that they could finish filming the movie that she was working on. Dr. Ernest Holmes tells us to sit down with ourselves, for there is a real self within you that is real. No one can ever enter there but yourself, for it is you. That is your unique you. And the intelligence that we possess is the same in essence as the intelligence of the infinite, but not in the same degree. The log cabin that I own in Lake Lure is located in the middle of the Pisgah National Forest, and there are probably about 100 trees on the property that are over 40 feet. And a lot of them are maple and walnut and things that have nuts. So when Cozy the cat came out of the forest and found me, of course we don't find the animals, they find us, he could not cognize what was happening when the nuts started falling out of the trees. It's just as difficult sometimes for us to cognize from a finite mind the vastness of an infinite mind. But regardless of everything that we've seen or done, or even how we may or may not have acted, there is a greater mind within each of us that we can call upon in this moment for a new beginning that starts right here and right now. So are we ready as a spiritual community? Show me if you're ready. Yeah, that feels good. Can I get an amen? Go, Sandy. I haven't been able to say that one for a while. Maybe not ever. So in the opening reading, you heard Emmett Fox talk about the difference between the mental activity and the mental relaxation. And both are just as important. One's the yin, one's the yang. Have you ever recalled the scenario in your mind and kept repeating it over and over and over again, somehow hoping that it would change? Everything we've ever experienced has brought us to this moment. Learning how to consciously expect, accept, receive, and release is what life is all about. It's just a giant classroom. The divine substance, or God's unlimited good, is already prepared. Ralph Waldo Emerson tells us it lies in smiling repose, simply awaiting our recognition. So anyone who is willing to get on board can create a new experience of living. And Dr. Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind textbook, teaches us that the one with a great purpose in life is always consciously or unconsciously holding this purpose up to the universal influx, thus causing an outpouring of divine wisdom through his or her own individual mind. So are we questioning or are we exclaiming? What is our expectation? So let's talk a little bit about the train to Jordan. The Jordan is the largest and most noted river in Palestine. And metaphysically, it represents a stream of thought that is always flowing through the subjective mind. When that flow of good and bad, or up and down, is accessed, our world shifts. If we're focused on the material, then the river can be muddy and turbulent. It is only through denial of those negative thoughts and beliefs and lack and limitation that the river can become clear. When the negative thoughts are removed, the current flows, and our positive thoughts can enter in to build up a clearer set of subjective beliefs. Overcoming the limitations of race thought isn't always easy. However, the finite mind is under control of the infinite mind. And the quicker we embody the 7 qualities of spirit, peace, power, joy, beauty, love, and harmony, the sooner we get to experience them. There is a universal race thought that flows through the subjective mind. When we practice positive affirmations of the presence of God, the divine law can establish itself within our own consciousness. We shape our experience according to the play of our thoughts. So become the engineer of your own train. Blow the whistle. Master your ideas and draw their manifest form to you. And if you need help, that's what our practitioners are for. Carol will be waiting for you at the portal to the prayer room. And if you believe that we believe, that's all Spirit needs to get in and shift what's happening around you. As we grow into a greater awareness of the divine, our unique and specific knowledge is but a certain way that we access that infinite wisdom. What works for me might not work for you. But Joseph Campbell teaches us that there's nothing right or wrong when you're on the path. But there is prudent and imprudent action. And experience, of course, is our best teacher. We are dealing with the law that is conditioned by our thoughts and emotions. If we keep taking the train mentally, repeating over and over and over again the same experience, instead of letting the engine take us by getting in alignment with the higher power, we're going to miss the train to Jordan. The energy of life as the possibility of human evolution works through our imagination. And it wasn't too long ago that they discovered the Nag Hammadi library, that contains lots of books that were actually written by the people who were on the planet when Jesus walked the face of the earth. And in the Gospel of Philip, I'm sure many of you realize that Philip was the brother of Jesus. Philip says, "What you see, you shall become." In the Gospel of Thomas, which was also in the Nag Hammadi library, Jesus is quoted as saying, "If you will not know yourselves, then you dwell in poverty. And it is you who are that poverty." So transforming our vision into manifest form is always possible. Revealing the spiritual and creative power within us as the possibility of this sacred space takes a village. The time is now. The place is right here where we are. So taking the train mentally versus taking the train, letting the engine take you, is about recognizing the power for what it is, unifying with that power, and affirming the truth of who we are as spiritual beings, taking the action that makes it possible. People, get ready. There's a train a-comin'. You don't need no baggage to get on board. You can leave behind all those ideas of lack and limitation. You can leave behind all the material things. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord. And when your expectancy is in alignment with the Lord, which of course metaphysically is the law, in perfect ways that you might not yet be able to foresee, Spirit is ever ready. So, I have to hear the story of where this came from, by the way. Thank you very much, and namaste.